The great prophet Coco Chanel once said, "A girl should be two things, classy and fabulous." And god damn it was she right. When it comes to video games, nothing matters more to me than the ability to dress my character up in the best clothes known to man. It's my favorite form of self-expression. Style is a reflection of your attitude and your personality. That's another Coco Chanel quote. This woman was straight spittin', rest in peace. Games that ooze style instantly dig themselves a foothold deep within the trenches of my heart. From the anime samurai drip in Rise of the Ronin, to the Victorian nerdcore of Hogwarts Legacy, to the rugged cowboy chic of Red Dead Redemption 2, there's never been a game that was made worse by the inclusion of customization options. Hell, I'll even push through a bad game if it means I can strut my stuff. I pushed through Pokemon Sword's graphical issues because I like dressing my character up like the little bloodthirsty poacher he was. Other than just giving me something pretty to look at, playing dress up with my game characters gives me something to latch onto. Something in even linear games that I can point to and say, this is how I made the character my own. Other than just being one of NWA's greatest hits, the ability to express yourself, both in real life and in video games, plays a vital part in our understanding of ourselves and what we represent. Are you a silly guy? Are you just a little goofball? Maybe you show that off when you play Saints Row by making the most hideous, horrifying monster possible and dressing him up in a clown costume. Or maybe you're stuck in your punk rock phase and listen to your inner Green Day and try to dress your Sackboy in as much Euro trash as you can get your hands on in Sackboy's Big Adventure. Or maybe you're like me and you're more concerned with what people think of you than you'd like, so much so that you can't even bear the thought of a virtual representation of yourself looking any worse than you can control. So you make the prettiest Fallout 4 characters the Wasteland has ever seen. Whatever your specific interest or psychological malady, games that allow you to express yourself allow you to explore that part of yourself with more safety and freedom than almost anything else in the world. It's this piece, the importance of self-expression, that pisses me off so much about games with stat-based clothing options. Do you remember when Cyberpunk 2077 came around and forced you to dress up as your daddy's favorite little girl if you wanted the best stats? I sure do. Those are what us Cyberpunk fans think of as the before days. I shudder at the thought. Cyberpunk 2077 isn't the only game to make this affront to humanity. No sir-ee Bob. There are plenty of games to do this. RPGs are notorious for this, if for no other reason than to classify clothes/armor between light, medium, and heavy. Dear FromSoft, is it too much to ask to want to both wear dope shit and not fat roll? Is it? Even one of the greatest games known to man, Ghost of Tsushima, has this issue, but we let it slide because the clothes in that game are the bee's knees. Thankfully, the days of having to dress like absolute dog water are largely behind us due to one of the greatest inventions known to man, transmogrification. I know that sounds like some made-up Harry Potter mumbo-jumbo, but transmogrification, or simply transmog as it's casually called, is very real, and it's God's gift to Earth. Or at least to gaming. Cambridge defines transmogrification as the act or process of changing or being changed completely, and that's exactly what it is in video games. What better example to use for transmogrification than our old friend Hogwarts Legacy? In Hogwarts Legacy, all of the clothes you pick up have stats tied to them, but with a simple click of a button, you can go from looking like the town weirdo to a different weirdo, but with cooler clothes. The Spider-Man games are also great examples, but I'm not just going to list out every game with a transmog system. I think you get the point here. That point is that transmogrification systems are sick, and if you're hell-bent on tying stats to clothes, then you better make damn sure your game has a transmog system. That does make me wonder why devs even tie stats to clothes in the first place, but that's not the point of this video. Moving on. If we're talking about clothing in video games, this video wouldn't be complete if I didn't harp on microtransactions and loot boxes for just a bit. There's not much I can say about them that hasn't been said already, but goddammit, I'm a YouTuber now, and kicking a dead horse is the name of the game, so here I go. Does anybody find loot boxes fun? Like seriously, does anyone enjoy these parts of games? I know people engage with them because they're addictive and by nature often interwoven into the very fabrics of the games, so there's really no way to avoid them, but I just have to wonder, who the hell is getting any enjoyment out of these? Like in Forza Horizon 5. There are some clothing options that you can only unlock via a wheel spin. You don't pay real money for the wheel spins, and they're handed out like candy, but still, why is this a thing? Loot boxes are even more confusing when you don't have to pay any money for them. This is like the best version of loot boxes that I can think of, and it even sucks here. Quick side note, Forza Horizon 5's reward system overall is all kinds of wrong. Just a few minutes of Forza Horizon 5 and you're overloaded with dopamine in a way that TikTok can only dream of. I never previously thought that it would be possible to get rewarded too much in a video game, but good lord, does Forza Horizon 5 give that its best shot. There's absolutely no sense of progression, and I want to know who at Playground Games thought that this was a good idea. Just had to vent real quick. Back to cosmetics. The worst of the worst are microtransactions. Coupled with loot boxes or standalone microtransactions, it doesn't matter, both absolutely suck. I kind of get paying for clothing options in a game like Fortnite, where it's free and the skins are purely cosmetic, but why should I be expected to pay more for the best robes in Assassin's Creed when I already paid full price for the game? It's downright scummy, and the video game industry would have been better if this practice was never normalized. Microtransactions and loot boxes are the worst, and I hate that I even had to spend 1 minute talking about them. To wash myself clean, I thought I'd take a second to highlight some of my favorite clothing and customization in games. First off, Assassin's Creed Unity. I know that just a couple of breaths ago, I was harping on Assassin's Creed for microtransactions, and they do exist here, but they weren't all that bad, alright? Assassin's Creed Unity oozed style throughout the entire game, with the romantic French setting and Mr. Rico Suave himself, Arno Victor Dorian, my favorite assassin. I guess technically I also have to include Assassin's Creed Syndicate here because they have the same customization system, but I don't like England as much as I like France, so I will choose to focus on Unity. In Assassin's Creed Unity, you can swap out the specific parts of your outfit, like the head, chest, forearms, waist, and legs. Then on top of that, you can change the colorways of your robes once you're all said and done. This basic customization theme has been consistent throughout the AC games ever since Unity, but none of the clothes have ever been as cool as they were in Unity. I mean, just look at that. Look how cool Arno is. God, he's so sick. Next, we have Saints Row 2. This game was truly ahead of its time. The game has multiple stores, layering options, different ways to wear your clothes, and even pattern and color options. The only real downside is that the amount of clothes wasn't too vast, but it's easy to look past that when the clothing options they did include came along with such deep customization. It's hard to believe that this game came out on the Xbox 360 because outside of The Sims, it would take a full 10 years for another game to even come close to the level of depth allowed in the clothing options in Saints Row 2. But when that game did come around, boy, that game absolutely slapped. Red Dead Redemption 2, yeah, baby! I love dressing Arthur up in all of the different outfits in the game. From a cowboy who embraces the savagery of life out on the frontier, to a cowpoke parading as a socialite sticking out like a sore thumb in Saint Denis, I love all of it. And just like Saints Row 2, your clothes have multiple wearing options and patterns to choose from. The depth of wearing styles isn't quite the same as it is in Saints Row 2, but there are more clothes in Red Dead Redemption 2, and even more so in Red Dead Online, so it feels like Red Dead only improved on what Saints Row 2 set out to do. I can't lie, sometimes I boot up Red Dead solely so I can play Wild West Fashion Simulator. I love it. I could go on for days about just how much I love it. It's the absolute best. You can't convince me otherwise. Clothes in games are awesome. Self-expression only makes our favorite games better. The more we can see ourselves in the games we play, the greater attachment we make to those games, and the better we view our experiences with them. I truly believe that all games should explore ways to allow players to express themselves, even if only in the most minute of ways. If you can't give us multiple clothing options, at least give us new colorways. Any addition, no matter how small, makes a world of difference when it comes to self-expression. I can only guess that the process of designing, developing, and animating multiple clothing options is a pain in the ass. So to all the engineers who make this possible, thank you. Your hard work has not gone unnoticed. If you could just stay away from loot boxes, microtransactions, and stat-based clothing though, that would be dope. Sincerely, gamers everywhere.